Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. Yeah, Monday. Sometimes Mondays get so mixed up. Anyhow, I had basically put out there I guess a poll of sorts to ask, if I should do a mixture of stuff, or just go for a straight out. And somebody basically gave me the idea to do maybe a morning Bible session and then an evening, just what happened throughout the day, or I'll talk about the dietary cookbook type thing I'm reading. And of course, I have a third book that I haven't really started reading, but I don't know if I'm gonna vlog about that because that's I guess you'd call it a self-help. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know how to describe the other book. The title is called Modern Viking, and it's kind of like how a modern day Viking might be, in the sense of physical and mental presentation. But anyhow, if I go to talk about that, I'll start reading it, but I don't know. Anyhow, this morning I am. Oh, where'd that paper go? For the next 57 days, I do believe I wrote. Yeah, for the next 57 days in the morning time, or sometime during the daytime when I get a chance, I'm going to do a Bible chat session about the Bible verses that my dearly departed cousin Michelle put out. And that's what I'm going to basically be doing for the next 57 mornings or 57 days. Anyhow, this morning's is the very first one. I'm not going to mix it up. I'm just going to go down the line. But anyhow, the very first one is Exodus 13. I'm jumping, and I'm sorry because I'm not really in a rush. I'm actually pumped this morning. I woke up in a great mood, so I'm kind of like, anyhow, it's Exodus 14, chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. And it says here, Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today you will never see again." Slow down, Jim. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. Now, those of us who are well-versed in the Bible, and I'm not saying I'm totally well-versed, I just know the Bible well enough to know what we're talking about. This is a comparison of, I mean, Michelle was going through a lot of stuff at the time. Her body was literally being riddled with cancer, bone marrow cancer, basically. And now, I can't say for certain what Michelle was thinking or what was going through her body or her mind. But to me, this is basically saying that no matter what you face, your daily grind, somebody who's basically being a bully, just the negative stuff that we face on a daily basis, whatever it is that's affecting you, in the end, give it up to God. Give it up to God to take care of, and let it be. Just literally, whatever it is, give it up to God. Give it forth to God for Him to take care of, and just leave it alone. Let it be. That's what I think this is saying. Because, I mean, if we give it up to God and let God fight our battles, whether they're psychological, you know, He can take care of it. Now, I know there's a lot of things that we have to deal with nowadays. I mean, the whole world has gone into a the whole world has basically been turned upside down. We've got COVID, we've got, just our daily, whatever it is. I mean, I know, looking back at what happened recently to me alone, kind of a bum deal. Now, the method that happened was just a raw deal. But the thing is, in the end, what basically happened was I was getting overly stressed. And things were not good, put it that way. And I lost my job. It happens. But the thing is, it's not just the fact that it happened. It was a lesson learned, first off. Second off, it was a blessing in disguise. What I mean by that is the fact that if I had kept with this job, or not with this job, not this job, not my new one, if I would have kept with the old job, if I would have kept with Casey's, and one, I would not have been able to enjoy Jerry Ann's 50th birthday. Two, after the party, basically, I wouldn't be able to be home as much to help with a lot of different things. I don't want to go into detail with a lot of different things because the fact that some of them are personal, some of them are, I don't even know how to describe it, but it all connected, basically. Things started falling in place. Now, some of those things might not have been, or might not be totally and utterly positive because of the given situation, but I'm dealing with it, and I'm dealing with it the best I can, and luckily I'm not so stressed out that I want to basically crawl under my sheets and hide for the day. But then there are those, like a couple of you who've basically expressed their positions on certain things because of certain things I've said. Now, a lot of you are dealing with the COVID situation. You've either got family or friends who are hospitalized because of it, or who have unfortunately passed because of it. But this pandemic it's harsh. It is harsh. Especially those of us, or those of you more than me, who are being affected directly by it. It gives me pause, basically, because I'm learning about those who are affected by it. And in fact, I've got their family members of a friend or two that I have that are sick with it. One particular person, she is not only sick with it, but so is her, I think it's one of her children, and then the baby the baby is too young to be tested. They can't test the baby for it. But I fear that this baby could come down with it, and to lose a baby to an ailment or a disease that has no, and I'm not sure if they have a vaccine for it or not, but the thing is, if they do have a vaccine, it's not being produced or publicized or anything like that. I stopped trying to look into this pandemic because, one, it was too upsetting, and two, it's just the information on both sides of the track basically is not only difficult to follow, but it's just one of those things where it's like, what, two sides telling two different stories. So it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But there's also, people, because of this pandemic, are being affected indirectly because of lack of work, which means making it hard to pay the rent. I know the government is trying to put out assistance for those who are affected so strongly by it. There's just then there's just the other aspects besides the lack of money, lack of job, the whole scenario. But then there's then there are those who are dealing with various other issues. I mean, I was lucky that when I lost my job with Casey's, that within a week, maybe a week and a half of losing the job with Casey's, I was able to find another job, because of the factor that a lot of, and I didn't really want to go back to fast food, but around here, it's unless you've got a medical degree or some sort of other piece of paperwork saying that you've got the knowledge to do the job, there's not very many other jobs around here that were hiring at this time. A lot of places, there are a couple of places that are fearing the possibility of having to reclose because New York, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and California, I think it is, are having a resurgence or another spike of sorts, that some places are considering closing down again due to the upsurge or spike in COVID cases. Now, that spike could be anything from they're finding more and more people who have it because of the fact that they're doing more and more testing. I don't know. But here in the States, we're looking at the possibilities of more issues or a different set of issues that is connected to this pandemic. And I don't know if it's a pandemic anymore because of the fact that a lot of countries are no longer seeing evidence of COVID. So, I don't know. Ooh. That tasted weird for some reason. Anyhow, I think, connecting back to that Bible verse, that with all our problems, great or small, if we just hand them over to God and let Him deal with it, things should get or can get a whole lot better. Now, I know it might not look like it or seem like it because of what's going on around us or around you. It's one of those things where you have to literally have a bucket full of faith. And I know that because of all the things that are going on, a lot of people's faith are wavering or dying, or just they don't see past the storm clouds, basically. And I know how difficult that is because I've been there. I've been that person. And I went through a lot of, let's just say I've weathered or went through a lot of storms in my life. And I can definitely say this much because it's I've seen it happen to me, and I'm sorry if I use myself as a point of reference, because not that I can't look beyond myself at certain circumstances, but it's hard for me to give examples or talk about situations without referring back to my own life history. But I did discover during my journeys that the closer you get to truth, the closer you get to a truth, it doesn't matter if it's a biblical truth, a historical truth, or any kind of truth that the devil doesn't want you to know about or remember or whatever, he throws more obstacles in your way. The happier you become, the more troubles he tries to throw at you to test your strengths, whether it's your physical strength, your faith strengths, your psychological strength, whatever strengths he wants to test, he's going to throw an obstacle in your way. And I've seen it because there have been times where I was happy with my life at that time, and he threw an obstacle at me, and I had to face that obstacle and deal with that obstacle. And the funny thing is even though some of those obstacles may cause you to stumble, as long as you have faith in yourself, faith in your religion, faith in what you can do, you might learn a lot that you didn't think you were going to learn. But for the most part, unless you decide to follow down that rabbit hole of whatever it is, sometimes you follow that rabbit and you come out of the hole a little brighter, a little more educated, a little stronger. I don't profess or claim to be a labeled religion. I don't claim to be Catholic. I don't claim to be Christian. I don't claim to be any religion. I claim to have an understanding, and I do have a faith that is grounded in my roots by my childhood upbringing of being a Christian. Does not mean I am your typical Christian, if you're going to call me a Christian. I had one little nasty bugger who and it wasn't even on YouTube. So this is from the past, and that's why one comment that I deleted was just kind of like, really, you don't know me. They tried to test my knowledge in Christianity, and I flat out said, look, I'm not going to go through a test. I know what I am. I know who I am. I know where I've been, what I've done, and where I'm going. I did do a year's worth of Bible college. I said this before. At Ozark Christian College. You can look up the college. It's right here in Joplin, Missouri. Well, I'm in Rolla. Joplin's 2.5 hours west of me. I can even tell you some of my professors. In fact, I'm on Facebook with one of them. I'm going to go ahead and mention their names. I'm pretty sure they won't mind. Gary Zusiak. He has a doctorate in, I don't know if it's a doctorate in OT, but he's got a doctorate in biblical studies. I don't know if he's still at Ozark, but I do have contact with him online on Facebook. There was Drew Ashwell, which I think he's still at Ozark Christian College. I think he's a dean of men. He was my Acts professor. Gary Zusiak was my OT professor. Those are the only two I remember off the top of my head because of the fact that they've made an impression on me. Now, I may not have, I didn't graduate. I did one full year, wanted to go in for a second year, could not afford it because I have issues with test anxiety, which unfortunately for most college students, if you have test anxieties, you have to either work harder or you have to pay more money to continue. The reason why I say that is because factor most tests in college are the bulk of your score. Now, both Gary Zusiak and Drew Ashwell both basically said, I have the knowledge. They can prove I have the knowledge because the factor when it's regular paperwork, regular school work or essays and whatnot, it's there and it's passing grades. But unfortunately, because of the factor the bulk of my grade is via the tests, there was my issue. So not only have I proven to myself, but I was given proof by college professors that it's here, it's up here. I just can't spit it out on a test fast enough because I have to deal with my anxieties. I have thought about going back to take courses at Ozark. Unfortunately, there's 3 things that are in my way. My test anxiety, money, distance. I talked to Jerry about this, and Jerry said if we were making enough money, and this was one of the plans or ideas for the amount of money that we thought we were going to be making by this time this year, I could have gone back. Yeah, that tuft of hair wants to stick up like a freaking antenna. Because we were talking about it, and we were like, well, I can stay at the dorms and basically stay there, and then on the weekends come home, have my 2 days here or day and a half here, and then go back Sunday night. Or the other idea was, because in fact I've heard a couple doing this because they have apartments or trailers of some sort for couples that they can stay there in the trailer for a minimum amount, a small amount of money. And that way there's no commute. And I always think that would be a good idea because if Jerry Ann's doing YouTube, she can bring or purchase there at a Dollar Tree or something like that nearby and do her crafting and do her YouTubing right there in the trailer while I go to school. It was a couple different ideas, but we thought about it. We talked about it. We even had a semi-plan, and then things changed. Well, we roll with the punches, and I think that's part of the whole give it up to God. We have an idea. We had an idea. We had a desire. We still have a desire, but if that's not in the plans that God sets for our life, then so be it. We still have to continue with our daily lives. And Michelle was a home. Well, did she have a job outside of the home before she? Yes, she had to have, because that's how she got sick. Was one of her jobs. I can't remember if that was pre or post college or during college, but that's what Michelle did. Michelle lived an awesome life. She was an awesome person. She had two good kids. Two good kids. She was doing well until she got sick and found out what it was, and unfortunately, it happened. But she continued on being the person that she was. She did not allow her cancer or her sicknesses or anything get in her way, because it was like, it's a concern. Let's take it to God. It's a health issue. Let's take it to God. Now, there are some of us, including myself, who could look at that situation and go, how could God do that? How could God take a godly person who has two good kids and a good, marriage and whatnot, and remove her from it? Well, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens all too often. And you know what? I look at our situation now, I look back at that situation that happened. I don't even know how long ago it happened. After I got married, so it had to be in the mid-2000s. So I'd say 10 years ago, maybe less. But with all the things that she could have basically done, or all the things that could have happened, I think the reason why she was taken, basically, I don't. That might be too harsh of a word. Taken. Trying to think of a better word. Well, I compare it to a biblical character, Enoch. Enoch was a New Testament character who was basically, he disappeared, and according to the Bible, he disappeared, and basically what they said in the Bible was effective, that he was taken unto heaven so he would not have to suffer. Now, I don't remember Enoch's story. I just remember the name and the basis of what was said. Now, as it was, Michelle was definitely suffering from the cancer and whatnot, because it was bone marrow, basically. It got into the marrow of her bones. And once you get cancer in the bone marrow, it's basically, unfortunately, an uphill battle or a downhill slide. But I believe that she was taken not just so she wouldn't suffer no more, but because if she would have been able to survive the bone marrow cancer, the odds of her being able to fort off the COVID pandemic would have been slim to none, because the cancer treatments and the bone marrow replenishment would have been painful enough as is. Because, I mean, to get into the bone marrow to take care of that, I'm sorry, if I see a needle this long coming at me, there's going to be a fight. You're going to have to knock me out, because no. And I'm pretty sure there are different procedures than just sticking a needle in, grinding it into the bone and having to either remove or inject whatever into that part of the body. It's hard enough as is that I look at Michelle's daughter. Now, Michelle's daughter, Katie, is a sweet kid. She's had to go through all kinds of different things, and she's got physical and mental handicaps. more mental than physical, but she has she's immune compromised basically because of her different ailments or different physiological health type issues. We didn't get to see, we have not gotten to see her in the last 2 times we've gone up there. The first time, I can't remember exactly what the reasons were, but this time around that we went was, even I would not want to have her come out in public during the pandemic because, one, she does not understand the full purpose of wearing the mask, and two, according to Aunt Joyce, she would pull it off. She wouldn't keep it on. She'd take it off. So it was better for her to just stay at home and be safe. But, again, we give up. We think we give up more than we should. Well, in some circumstances, yes. But the thing is, don't give it up just because the world around you deems it necessary. Give it up because God deems it necessary. Now, I can't say that God deems it necessary that we wear our masks and whatnot, but obviously what's going on, God deemed it necessary. Sounds harsh, don't mean to be. It's just one of those things where you have to think about it. Because obviously everything that happens for a reason. There's a purpose for everything. Unfortunately, death is one of those things, and I don't like that. I don't like that. I mean, I can sit there and go, oh, well, it's Adam and Eve's fault that death has become a necessity. No, it's not their fault. It's the devil's fault, But there was, and I can't remember who said it, but somebody had once said to me that the devil is only allowed to do so much because God lets it happen. Okay. I can understand that. But then I go, why? Why is he allowed to do anything? If God wanted this to be a Garden of Eden, let's say, then why does the devil get his chance to play? Why does the devil get his chance to come out and wreck people's lives? Is it the factor that maybe God is letting the devil wreck people's lives to alter their course, change their ways? In the end, whatever happens, it's part of God's grand scheme. Scheme, plan, however you want to put it. Again, yes, it can be harsh, it can be cruel, it can be, in some people's eyes, wrong. But if it's a necessity, why do we fight it? If it's part of the grand plan, what's our part? Why just going back in my life again, I'm sorry. Why did my father have to die while I was still in such a young age? Now I know for a factor, I shouldn't say I know for a factor. Shouldn't say that. I'm fairly sure, that is a better word, I'm fairly sure that if my father had survived diabetes, might have had to be in a wheelchair for the better part of his life, or for the last couple decades or whatever, I would have had to learn to be a different person. I would probably be a different person. That and a factor, I probably would not have dropped out of school even with a GED. I probably would have been a lot more fit, a lot more mentally strong. But I can also sit there and say, if he would have survived, one, yes, I probably would have never joined the military because that was one of the things he never wanted for me. Um, and I don't know if it's because of the factor of, one, I was an only child, or two, he saw Vietnam. He was not in the middle of Vietnam. He was on the outskirts as a helicopter mechanic, and he did basically go out into the field to airlift the dead or the severely injured. He saw I guess you'd say he's seen the worst and he's seen the best in humanity. But there's also those, if he would have survived, would I have gotten into the military? Probably not. Would I have gotten into gone to college? Possibly, most likely. Would I have been would I have would we as a family move out here to the Midwest? Doubtful. There's a lot of things where it's like, what if? We can't think about the what ifs. The what ifs has to do with the past, or what could have occurred if certain things in the past did not occur. It's like saying, hey, I built a time machine. Let's see what would happen if I had gone back in time and made sure Hitler never became the person he is in our current history books. What about, let's say, I had a time machine and I somehow went back in time and disrupt my own family's timeline? Would I have been born? It's that what's the term? Butterfly effect. If somebody had invented a time machine and went back in time, and they did not go back in time to alter history, they went back in time to live history, to be a part of history, so they would understand history better. But during their venture back in time to view history, they accidentally made an ever so slightly molecule of a change to history. The butterfly effect now takes place to change history. But why do we need a time machine to go back in history? We have books. We have plenty of ways of looking back in time to see historical events. Now, granted, it is true that history is written by the victors, except for in the case of Vikings. In the case of Vikings, the written history on the Vikings was basically done more by the defeated, which is kind of funny. Because a lot of the archaeological finds that they're now finding about Vikings shows that they weren't all the barbaric, pillage, plunder, and destroy type people. They had a very good culture and a very good system. I don't know how to describe it. But anyhow, yes, I'm jumping all over the place to try and show you basically what I just read, or try to talk about what I read. In the end, I believe that Exodus 14 verses 13 and 14 are trying to basically tell us that no matter what's in front of us, granted, the Egyptians were basically taken out by God using the Red Sea to basically swallow them up. But the thing is, our troubles, whatever it is that's trying to trample us down or put us into captivity or just wreck our lives, give it up to God. Let it be. Don't dwell on it. Just drop it off at I'm going to use a term that you might not like, but drop it off at the altar, whether it's the pulpit of your church, the altar in the Jewish temple, whatever spot that people would leave offerings, leave it there. For those of us who don't get the chance to visit the church as much as we probably should because of our work or whatever, I have a little jar. Now, I'm not going to read every one, but there's at least 4 sheets of paper with prayers. It's a little prayer jar. Now, write your little prayer, your little request, your whatever, on a little piece of paper. Put it in a prayer jar. Put it in put it in a jar, a box, whatever that you designate, and you can put a label on it as prayers, our prayers, whatever. Write it down, fold it up, slap it in that jar, that box, that receptacle of whatever you want to use, and leave them. Don't go back and open them up and reread them. Leave them. Here's something else that might sound a little odd. See if I can. There's only a couple of them in there right now. You know, there's small notepad sheets that I use. And when that jar gets full that I can't put anything else in there, here's what you do. Or at least this is what I'm going to do. Now, you don't have to. You can get a bigger vessel. You can take the old prayers out and just don't even look at them. Don't read them. Don't look at them. Just put them in the garbage. Put them someplace out of sight, out of mind, whatever. Somebody told me this, and this person was a converted. He converted from his Jewish religious background to Christianity. And he said what they used to do in the old temple, in his old church basically, is every week they would collect a week's worth of prayers. You can come in, drop off your prayers, and get a little slip of paper or whatnot, because they did the same thing in his synagogue. They would collect the slips of paper from whomever, from the church, from the synagogue, and they would collect a week's worth. You had a week to drop off your prayer, basically. And what they would do is this is what he told me, so I'm not sure if this is true or not, this is what he said. They would take the prayers and they would set it in a metal bowl, basically. And they would sprinkle, I don't know what he said they would sprinkle, but they would sprinkle something on it like incense or frankincense or something that was basically would burn and give off a perfumic smell, a pleasing smell. And they would basically burn the bowl full of prayers and whatnot to let the prayers and the pleasing smells waft up. Basically, the smoke would go up to God. And that's how they would basically deal. I don't know if the word deal is right, but that's what they would do with them. To basically help bring the prayers up to God so he can answer the prayers or deal with the requests or whatnot. And I went, well, I don't know about the frankincense or the whatever, but the idea of burning prayers or burning the pieces of paper with the prayers on them, it's not just a Jewish thing. It's a lot of different religions, a lot of different religious groups do the same thing. Now, Native Americans would not write it down. They would just burn sage or whatnot and pray or meditate their prayers, basically not verbally give off their prayers, but sit there and let the sage and whatnot, like they would take a bowl and what they call a smudging bowl and a eagle feather, and they would like bring the smoke towards them as they meditated. And I don't want to use the word meditate because that sounds a little new age-ish, but you know, I don't even know how to describe it. Not meditate. Well, however you want to use it. But the Bible says in various passages, it is better to pray in silence by yourself than stand in a crowd of people praying all at the same time, the same prayer, basically. And I'm like, well, okay, when it's personal issues or things that you want to commune, there's a word I wanted to use, commune with God. I can understand your personal prayers, your individual prayers, or if you want to pray for other people, do it by yourself. But then there are the prayers that the family do together, like the meal prayers or praying as a group for an individual person or a individual. I can understand personal prayers. You take them one-on-one. Family prayers or mass prayers for an individual, a nation, a particular topic that everybody agrees on. You're taking your issues, whether it's a mass issue because of like a whole community or whole congregation praying for those who are suffering because of the pandemic, or just praying to end the pandemic. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going into your room or what was that movie? Had to do with prayer, and I can't remember what the name of the movie is off the top of my head. But one of the main characters had as she called it, a prayer closet. She literally had a closet with stickum notes all over the walls. There was no clothes in there. It was just a chair, a little table with the Bible on it, and a whole bunch of notes stuck to the wall. Prayer warrior, something along that line. But anyhow, whatever your problems are, big or small, give them up to God. Say them out loud. Say them to yourself in your room before you go to sleep. Write them down on a piece of paper, drop them in a jar, burn them later on, however you want to do it. Just take that issue, take that request, that prayer request, whatever that you write down or you pray about. Do it however you want to do it, and then leave it. I know as human beings, that's very hard. You know why? We have a tendency to bring up old problems. We have a tendency to worry about problems that we've already prayed about or talked to God about. We have that tendency to go back at that wound or that injury or that scar or that scab and pick at it. I don't think we're meant to. I think we're meant to just give it up and leave it. I know because we're also impatient that we tend to, from time to time, sit there and go, what happened? I made a request. It hasn't been fulfilled. Why not? We can make the request. He's the one who decides when to fulfill that request. Now, I want to get healthy. I want to get healthy right now. I want to basically snap my fingers and I'm back to my 20-something body. No. I have to work at it. Okay? If there's something that we want that can be a physical gain, not a spiritual gain, we have to work at it. So, yeah. Anywho, that is this afternoon or this evening's, I don't even know what time it is. That is today's Bible chat. I know I kind of went off the rails and started chatting about other little things, but I'm hoping that I got them to interconnect, because I kind of felt like they were meant to be interconnected. And I knew this was going to be a long video, because anytime I start talking about something that I have a strong feeling towards or about, I just go on and on and on. And I hopefully didn't do any round robins or backtracks or whatever. So anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment box. I will try to do my best to deal with them. If you're new to my channel and want to see more, hit the subscribe button. A little bell will pop up, and then you can click on that bell, and YouTube will let you know when I put in a new video. So until next time, be safe, be diligent, God bless, and have a good day. Bye.